Sheesh. But yeah, look, man, I posted this clip to Woodward Sports. It was of the 2004 Detroit Pistons. And it was funny because I was like, yo, I swear the Pistons are the only team in history to have the opponent celebrate losing to them. And it was when the Pistons had that streak of holding opponents under 70 points per game. And the Nets. I feel so bad about the second part of what I'm about to say, but first part,
I think I remember that. I think I remember them like we cracked 70.
bro, they called a
We
timeout
cracked.
down 15 or like 18 with like 4 seconds left to draw up a play. And the second part of it, obviously they broke it and they're celebrating and fist pumping. I never realized this or the magnitude. Boy, I love the comments sometimes. Everybody, first comment, of course, it would be Darko that let the tip in. I went back and I looked. I was like, oh my word.
Can you
hard, but he doesn't get off the ground, bro. I looked at it. He was like, and I'm just like, oh my word. It would be Darko. It would be Darko.
That's the defensive fake.
Oh man, but it was funny.
Can you even imagine now? See, Cats are breaking 70 in the first half now. Early in the third quarter, people are breaking 70. How do you hold somebody to 70 for a whole game? For several games, for a week? How do you do that?
It was wild, man. It was a phenomenon as we look back on it now. Like, I know scoring was down, but people dreaded Pistons games on national TV because they knew, though we're not scoring 130 a game like they are now, the Pistons have a way to really, really, really grind this thing down. Like, we were looking at third quarter, into third quarters, like Pistons were up like 65-51. It was absolutely just a masterclass on defense when we look back on it. And obviously the NBA moved to tweak certain rules and whatnot. And it kind of got me thinking about Troy Weaver and his restoration thing. You know, he's talking about defense and such, but I want to get the pod started right, and I want to jump into a few nice topics. I feel like Troy Weaver was very true to his word about this free agency, very true to his word. But what up, though, people? It's your boy Brandon Dent, aka Detroit Kool-Aid, and you're rocking out with the Woodward Pistons podcast on the Woodward Sports Network. Mr. Jeff Iafrady, hey, gonna always include him in this, especially with some of the things we have in the works. He's on the Morning Woodward show at this moment, and he's crushing it. Shout out to him and Sam, Lucas, JB, Gabby, and the whole crew. They continue to do good work and they continue to make some strides. So I really like what they're doing there. But you guys already know what time it is. We got to get the legend drum rolled in here. Oh, no, get ready for it. Hey, yo! Shout out to the legend Detroit News, Rod Beard. Brother, it looks like you have a little bit different background today, man.
I'm out in the world today. We are on location in the world.
So I was broadcasting from the face of the sun last week, and this week you're like in a forest or something?
No, you were on the surface of the sun last week. I mean, Vegas ain't no joke, man. It is okay, let me go on the tangent here.
Talk to me.
Did you see this clip of CNN, and they're talking about the warm weather in Vegas, and who pops up on the screen? It says Troy Weaver, Las Vegas resident. My man has his earbuds in, and he's like,
clothes, bro.
He's like, yeah, it's really hot. We're just out here. Bro, I lost it when it said Troy Weaver, Las Vegas resident.
I'm
like
crying, man. I literally got tears in my eyes. Dude. And
Troy,
he was so smooth with it, too. He was just... I was like, told y'all he can give good press conferences.
This man is walking around the streets of Vegas. A camera crew walks up to him. Hey, sir, can we have your name for the story? Troy Weaver. And they're like, okay, cool. Let's just put him on camera.
Dude, when I saw that, I was like, yo, this is priceless, man. It's absolutely priceless.
He is every man. that he can just
Oh,
he's not like, no, I don't want to do the interview. I'm somebody. He just was like, you know what? Yeah, it is hot. I'll help y'all out. Here goes some quotes. Let's go. And put his earbuds back in, turned on some Earth, Wind, and Fire, and just kept walking about his day. That's, that's
no,
the
Troy is so cool, calm, and collected, yo. And honestly, I just listen, man. I'm so glad you talked about that, yo, because that's absolutely hilarious. That like Troy is just kind of a guy who it's just a stoic individual, but when you get certain moments like that, it's absolutely hilarious. Like another moment they caught was after like Sasha's 40-point 40
yeah.
point explosion. Someone got some footage, like pictures of on the sideline, like super happy, like
Yeah.
dapping up people on the sideline and happiness. Like, you know what? Sometimes we don't really get to see that part of Troy Weaver, but it's fun, man. It's fun. That was hilarious to me, man. That was
Man,
hilarious.
that dude, it's just like, okay, CNN, how do you not know this dude? Okay, fine, you don't know who he is, but for him to not crack a laugh in there
I think
somewhere,
it worked, man.
that dude, he's just funny. He's just funny. I would have been cracking up laughing if CNN had come up to me and said, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, I mean, whatever.
And bro, like, it got me to thinking, like, is this how he handles like these GMs? Is this how the
Yeah,
calls go? Like, just
yeah.
hey,
Just
this is
like,
Troy Weaver here,
yeah. I
ready to
mean,
feed you.
yeah. I'm just calling to check and see on your availability of Joe Harris. Can we get that? Yeah. Okay. I mean, well, we'll send you a wad of cash. That's all you get. Yeah, but
Man.
and we're gonna need some draft picks too.
And they're like, wait, who is this again? Troy Weaver. Do we know what Troy Weaver? I guess do the deal. I guess the Pistons. Sure. This is like, man, Troy Weaver, man.
Where's
That's goat behavior right there, man.
and
CNN.
at the end of the call, he's like, "Wait, where's Joe Harris going? What did we just agree to?" Yeah, yeah. The Nets are just yeah. Troy
Oh,
Weaver's a different dude. That dude just popped up on CNN, not for a trade, not to talk about the NBA, but to talk about how hot it is in Vegas. Man, come on.
because everything else was worked out. That's what I'm saying. Like, look, he was true to his word. Right after the press conference, right? The little media scrum got together, and obviously everybody's attention, and this after the rookie press conference, the introductory one, everyone's
Yeah.
attention turned towards free agency. Naturally, everyone's like, okay, so one of the questions, I believe Mike was like, he just looked at him like, so was this the big hit? Was this the big swing? And he just looked back at Mike, was like, yeah, absolutely. That's his word. It was like, wow. So then it instantly shaped the rest of the conversation where we were like, okay, so we know that you guys were linked to names like Cam Johnson, Jeremy Grant. We know that you said that your number one tool was this 3-and-D wing. What's kind of where you're at with this right now? And he instantly stated, I kind of want to see what coach can do with these guys, and I don't want to sign anybody that could potentially mess with the core of this team, mess with the development and the path that they have to be the players they think that they should and could be. That to me was interesting because it's just like, okay, maybe we are not believing in these guys or this team as much as Troy Weaver actually does. And I get it. We've believed in players like this last week. Obviously, Summer League brings back some memories. You've heard of Austin Day,
Right.
Henry Ellenson, Stanley Johnson, even Andre Drummond. And so I think sometimes we get a little bit of apprehension, but Troy Weaver to me he's telling us, I actually believe in these guys. These guys are actually really good players. He's talking about the mix of vets that they now have here. You talk about Morris and Joe Harris. You've just
Mhm.
doubled the amount of NBA vets in your rotation when you're adding them to Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks. That to me is a positive. They had just those two guys last year, and they didn't really play together. This year, you're talking about health. You're talking about two more dynamic rookies, as well as two
Mhm.
more I think vets that will contribute, that can play on a nightly basis. He was true to his word, man. I want to get your takeaway on it after we've kind of seen these rookies. Obviously, it's summer league. We can only take so much away.
Right.
But with the bigger picture, we kind of got a glimpse of what Troy Weaver is talking about. one of the biggest questions I get from people, and I wanted to see if what your mind was, is Asar Thompson. Is he a day one starter, and what is the potential if not?
No, he's not a day one starter.
Ooh.
But
All
we
right, hold on,
knew.
hold on. Before you go, I'm telling you, man, I've been scouring. Everybody has jumped on the bandwagon. He is the day one starter. Tell me why he is not.
Tell me if Bogey is on this team uh, game one. If Bogey's on this team game one, there is no way that Asarda is starting. Because you need that level of scoring. You need Bogey's skill set in the starting lineup. So you can't,
Yeah.
as much as Asar brings, we said we said this before the draft. It didn't matter who they drafted at number 5; they weren't starting.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're going out and um, unless you're getting something for Bogey, you don't have a small forward spot. And I don't even know, even if you did, if you wouldn't start Livers ahead of him, even still. And some people might say that's blasphemy, but there's something to say about having NBA experience in game one. With this young group, are you starting Cade, Ivy, Thompson, Duren, and Stewart? Like Stewart's your most experienced starter. I don't know if you can do that. Um, you need somebody to, and you need that A1 scorer out
Mm-hmm.
there too. Not saying Cade can't be that guy, but you need somebody else because if you have that group, everybody's just going to press Cade and keep the ball out of Cade's hands and make you go back to what you were last year. So I think you have to have Bogey for that ability to score. Um, but again, if you trade Bogey for something else, then all bets are kind of off with that. But I think they've shown if they're willing to go into the season with this roster, it is with the idea that Bogey's going to be on the roster, and you have to account for that way.
Yeah,
But
because
Asar is going to be a second group, and he may finish games. And we've talked about this 100 times.
mm,
Under the Casey system, it's not about who finished or who started games; it's who finished games because that's crunch time. So you might have him out there as a defender, but you don't need him out there to start games.
yeah, yeah, and that's a good distinction because one of the experiments we didn't like from last season was Bojan Bogdanovic at the 4.
Hmm.
And if we're talking Joe Harris, or if we're talking different expectations on the season, yeah, there's a world where I believe it's a push the button. Asar Thompson is going to start, but we're just in a little bit of a different kind of flux right now, where we're having to depend on young players while still having to develop young players, while
Hmm.
still having to now in year 4 getting some type of results, especially after the injury plague season they had last year, which dipped things down to 17 wins. There's a lot of people out there who didn't believe the Pistons would be able to get to 2022 wins this season. Like, oh, you guys think they can get an additional 10 to 15 over last year? Well, Vegas is thinking
Yes.
that they're going to get, what is over under 27 and a half wins.
Yeah.
That to me signals that I'm not going to be surprised if the Pistons have, and I do believe they have the recipe to get about 35 wins. I really do. And I think that to be able to get to some, and that's if everything is going well. This is, I
Hmm.
mean, like everything's firing on all cylinders. They're going out there and they're playing scrappy. You know, Kay Cunningham is this difference maker. Jaden Ivey in year 2, he's not hitting too many bumps in the road. And what they thought that they could get out of out of not Alec Burks, but out of Bojan Bogdanovic, out of that combination between he and Cade, if that's firing, I do believe this team has the recipe to get there. I think
Hmm.
that they're missing a little bit more in the paint, but I guess that's something that's going to be seen. We got to see what Bagley, Wiseman, these guys are going to do if they're still in the
Yep.
roster. But
Hmm.
I think that you bring up some really really good points here because Bojan at the 4 just didn't work. You are what you defend, and that was as good of a player as he is offensively. It just didn't work. I know that Troy mentioned at that press conference that he wanted to see how these guys work so that then they actually have an idea of where they should go, how they should augment. And so if Bojan is out here and he is absolutely working, I'm all for that. All for that, especially if the 3 is hitting. I think this team is going to have to rely a little bit on the 3-point shot because the offense might take some time for the chemistry to get there, for some of the young
Hmm.
players to kind of work some of these mistakes out. Sasser, he's generally not making a lot of mistakes, but at the NBA level, we don't know what the issues are going to be. Asar Thompson,
Right.
even Jaden Ivey and these guys. So Yeah, it's interesting to me because I wanted to bring up this other point, the other side of this coin, because you talked about is Boyan going to be here, and that kind of determines some more aspects of what happens with Asar Thompson starting or not. But shout out to Pistons Talk, Anthony Colombo. I appreciate
Mhm.
what they do in their podcast and whatnot. The Pistons Talk podcast. He tweeted out the Detroit Pistons are asking for 2 first-round picks for Boyan, and he linked to a Hoops Hype article where it says Detroit set a high asking price for essentially 2 first-round picks for Bogdanovic when teams called expressing trade interest last season. Hayes is expected to be a trade candidate for Detroit with a loaded backcourt, including Cade, Ivy, Morris, Burks, and Sasser heading into training camp. Asar Thompson and Joe Harris could also play guard in various lineups for Detroit. Now, for me,
Mhm.
that is kind of consistent with what Troy has done when he wants to see something, when he wants to take a look at something. He values it at a position where it's like, look, they're not untouchable, but for right now, we believe Bojan Bogdanovic is valuable. He did this with Jeremy Grant, where in season he said it for 2 first-round picks because you don't know where those picks are going to convey this early.
Right.
You just don't
Right.
know. When you're in the draft, you're more apt to let something go for 1 pick if you know you can work that for what you need. You know where it's going to convey. And so to me, it seems like Bojan is going to be here, for at least the first part of the season. I'm interested to see how it's going to work. I'm kind of for that, the kind of run it back crew. And this is where I wanted to also pick your brain about this kind of Pistons free agency and offseason outlook is with their free agency. Do you believe they should have went for more? A lot of people out there are saying that they should have made a bigger push for Cam Johnson, but when I'm hearing Troy Weaver speak about Asar Thompson, and I'm seeing the potential of Asar Thompson, and we already understand the type of defense that he's probably going to bring to the table. Do you believe that the selection of Asar Thompson, at least at this juncture, was enough for them to pass on going after a wing like Cam Johnson?
Okay. So let's put it in these terms. Would you rather have Cam Johnson or Joe Harris, Monty,
Okay.
and again, you're getting Cam for 4? It would have been like 4 and 120-ish.
For the
No,
Pistons, it would have been a little bit more. What did he get? Like, was
he
it
got
120?
27 and a half. Yeah, it would have been like 4 and 120 something.
Yeah, that
Just
would have been
just
up for the
just
Pistons.
just for kicks and giggles. I don't think I don't think Cam is a 4-year throw the entire bag at him for those 4 years. Now, if you had done something with Bogey and you had gotten some relief, you had gotten another 20 million off the books, then I can see that. So
Mm.
now you're dealing with somewhere around 50 million in cap space. So you can blow some of that and say we'll trade Bogey plus another 10 to get Cam if you believe in Cam. I just don't think he's a difference maker. If Cam is on this team, is he a better go-to option than Cade is? No, then I'm not paying 30 million for him. I'm not. Defensively, is he some kind of if he's some is he some kind of premier upgrade over at that position? Is he a shutdown 3 and D guy? No, then I'm
I
not
don't
paying him
even
30
know if he's
million.
going to provide what we saw out of Asar when he understands the NBA. If he gets it this season, I think he provides a little bit more for us defensively than Cam Johnson would have.
I mean, if you watched Asar, if you really watched it and looked at where he was in a lot of situations, people will point to those highlight clips and say, okay, here's what he did, but he blocked a jump shooter at the free throw line because he might have been out of position a touch, but he recovered enough to block a jump shooter and start a break.
Oh, wait,
The
wait.
one
Let me qualify that. It was Grady Dick. It was a
yep,
guy in his draft class that people were saying he's going to be one of the upper echelon. It wasn't like people say, "Oh, they're doing this against plumbers and guys who are going to be flipping burgers next week."
excellent
No,
point,
no, no, no,
excellent
no,
point,
no. It was
excellent point.
he went in there and made us forget that Grady Dick was a player that people were hoping, oh, well, maybe Pistons can take a flyer. I'm sitting here like, bro, he folded him up in his suitcase and took him back to Detroit, man. Like the defense that he was playing on him, I was like, ooh, several times. Wasn't it Grady Dick, the player on the sideline, who tried to like pick and roll, and Asar just didn't go for it? It went to the sideline, and he just took the ball, threw it down, and that's where he got like the behind the back. I think I had to qualify it, man.
Who does that, man? Who gets in the air on that oop? It's so many good things on that play. Defensively, it is, I'm going to get the ball, and we're going that way. You throw the ball ahead, and the recognition that I have to fill this lane in the center.
Man.
Throw ahead to Sasser. Sasser sees the opportunity, and when he gets the ball, he doesn't land. If you're a point guard, sometimes you say, okay, I got to land to get my bearings and my feet, and then I can toss this back up. Sasser in the air just threw it back to him. This dude, being a freaking Gumby, decides, oh, I'm up in the air. Now I have to turn and reverse this joint. What is this dude? Who is this dude?
And then he celebrated like almost in Barry Sanders style, bro. Like he didn't say nothing. I was like, yell, like open your mouth. He just kind of
like this is what I do. This is what I do on Sundays. I come out here and just catch reverse oops. If it was Tuesday, I would do something different. But Sundays, this is the way I go. I just reverse oop.
He started that jump, man. Like he threw the ball and just you could tell he knew, like, I'm about to do something crazy. And it just, man, that's gonna be something. That's gonna be something. But I'm glad we talked about this because I wanted to get a feel for
But to the point, defensively, what he does, his instinct on things, even when he's out of position, he's athletic enough to kind of figure out how to get back into the play. So even on the Grady Dick block, he might have gone for a fake, I think, but he got back into it and got the hand up and got the block. And so those are the types of things. He's not going to be a superior scorer, but you don't need him to be. If he was a great scorer, he would have been the number 2 or number 3 pick, because defensively what he brings matches all the other stuff. And just his ability to facilitate and handle the ball when his shot did fall. And I wrote this the other day. What you like about him is that he didn't try to take away from Ivey, Duren, and Wiseman when he played with them those first 2 games. He wasn't like, I'm taking my shots, I'm letting people know what's up, I'm the number 5 pick, blah, 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 blah. I'm here. He knew how to fit into the system. And then the second 2 games that he played, he knew now it's my time to do something. And now I'm going to still give you 14 and 10, or was it 17 and 10? Whatever it was, 10 rebounds. That dude averaged 10 rebounds, and he's a wing.
Yep.
In summer league.
13 and a half and 10 for Asar Thompson. Yep.
So that's what I look at, is to say his presence and understanding what is needed. And we've talked about rebounding guards and the need to have that as a skill set.
Man.
Or rebounding wings, we'll say.
Yep.
So for somebody, it's a 4-game sample size. We're not saying that this is anything that's going to translate to that degree in the regular season, but somebody who's in there and not afraid to rebound the ball is going to be key, because we know Cade's not afraid to go in and board. No. We know Ivey's not afraid to go in and board. So when your backcourt guys have 10 rebound games in their careers already, then that bodes well for what you're able to do, not just in a regular defensive stuff and what Asar can do defensively and just being on the ball, but he creates the transition by himself on a turnover, on a rebound, go. So I think that's what he brings that Cam does not bring. That's a skill set that Cam does not have. I'm not doing a comparison between him and Cam. I'm just saying Cam does not have that skill set. And so if you're looking for, would we pay Cam that much money? What are you really getting for that? You're getting a high level 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
But you got an elite level 3-point shooter for not even for free. You got it for free plus some picks. Come on, man. But how many times have we heard it? Troy has done nothing. This man doesn't know how to evaluate talent. He doesn't make good trades. He doesn't draft well. This man got Joe Harris for free.
And honestly, when you look at Because I'm glad you brought that distinction. We usually look at these things as 1-to-1, Asar Thompson and Cam Johnson. And you broke it down instantly with like, well, there's Joe Harris and Morris as well. They cost money. They're on this squad. And honestly, what's the better wing package? We're looking at Joe Harris, Asar Thompson, Bojan Bogdanovic, or Bojan Bogdanovic and Cam Johnson. Maybe Asar Thompson. Maybe. I knowing the type of potential that Asar Thompson possesses and knowing the type of money that Cam Johnson was going to command, it's just like I feel like this was the best of all worlds. I think that if you're going to trade Bojan Bogdanovic, you have a Joe Harris. Well, it makes it a lot easier to try and facilitate something like that, especially if you believe that Asar Thompson is ready to start. Troy kept saying this over and over and over again in that kind of press conference, rookie introductory press conference, that he did not want to block the path of Asar Thompson. He said, I don't want to block the path of this guy. I think he's very special. I want to see what we have first. I want to get these guys out underneath Monty Williams, which means summer league is something that, hey, we kind of look at, but still the assessment's going to come later. Training camp, obviously preseason, and then the start to the regular season. And so he's going to get his opportunities. But I believe that the squad has to be a good one. I don't think you want to drop these rookies into something that's kind of discombobulated. And that's where I believe that the value of Bojan Bogdanovic and the value of kind of running a five that has some familiarity with each other, Cade and Ivy, Stu, Duren, Bojan, these guys have been around each other. These guys have been, friends, camaraderie, and all that type of stuff building up over the last season. I think that's important to put that out there. This squad, and Troy, we've talked about, hey, listen, I believe in this guy. I know the squad. I know the wins aren't quite there yet, but I believe in this talent. We just have to get healthy. And so, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead and finish.
No, I was just going to say, so when you look at that and you pair that with who Monty Williams is, I do believe that Bojan, his value is a little bit more than just a three-point shooter to this team or just a scorer. I think that the chemistry matters a lot in this case. And when you could put out a five that like Ivy and Cade, who are just like, yo, we want to work together. And someone posted their clips of the 12-game stretch they had. It was beautiful basketball, man. Bro, we got robbed. Those guys want to play with each other. Bojan came here saying, oh, I knew that I was brought here to play off of Cade. Stewart is just like, bro, you just tell me where to be. We've seen them.
I'm down for whatever. Stu just said I'm down for whatever.
That lineup, we got to see that lineup. I think that presents the Pistons' best chance to get off to their best start next season, even if eventually Asar Thompson is a guy who might start. It's like, what were you going to add in there, brother?
Let's say this doesn't work out in some kind of way, and you're sellers at the deadline. Let's look at expiring contracts. Oh, ooh. Joe Harris, expiring contract. Ooh. You think some contender wouldn't want to give up something for Joe Harris? Maybe not a first-round pick, but something, maybe a couple of seconds. So there's residual value in Joe Harris, not just the couple of second-round picks that you already got. Minimum, ooh, you're probably looking at another one or two.
Which is valuable underneath this new CBA. Highly valuable. Shout out Sean Murphy, half court. Very valuable.
So if you end up giving up cash and cap space for Joe Harris and turn that into a few second-round picks, still winning. You still won the trade no matter what. Bogey will be, if somehow something happens and this year goes a different way, are you getting a first and a second for Bogey? I could see that. There's a world where that happens. So even if this year doesn't happen and you say you're on the trajectory to go 35 wins or so, by the trade deadline, you can start liquidating some of this and getting some other stuff for it and still preparing yourself, because picks are the new collateral. Cap space had been the collateral for so long, but now it's turning into picks. And we see what OKC has with 99 picks between now and in the next 9 drafts. They had 99 picks. So they're going to control the future if Chet and all of these and Shea and all these guys just start working out. They control the future of what this actually looks like. You think with Joel Embiid and the Hardens and the stuff like that, when people start coming looking for third teams to be involved in stuff, you think they don't
Man,
call OKC and just break us off a couple of those picks? And Sam Presti's like just
bro.
like granddaddy pulling his wallet out with draft picks. He's just like, all right, let me see if I got a little bit of loose change, a couple of draft picks here, a couple of first rounders. There you
Yep.
go, 27, 28, 29, because they got everybody's picks.
Yep.
So I think that's where the Pistons need to go next, is for them to really take that next step. They need a first round pick to make things more flexible, that they can start getting involved in some of these other trades that teams are doing. They need a couple of first round picks because they're locked in with their other one, that they can't trade it
Yeah.
because
Yep.
it still has to get figured out.
Great point. That's a good point. That's a good point. And you're right. Troy, and I keep telling people this, I think when you look at the fact that they have put out there and branded Core 4 and have upgraded that Core 4 every single season to the point that now it's Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, and Jalen Duren. I think you got to, honestly, it's a Core 5. You got to put Isaiah Stewart in there with the contract. And
Mm-hmm.
they've made sure that that core can be protected while they continue to augment and move things around that core. And really, Troy Weaver's taking his team from one that was kind of saddled with contracts and really didn't understand, in my opinion, how to build around their draft picks prior. We don't know if it's going to work yet. We still have to see the wins. But he's at least put himself in a very, very favorable position. No contract is unmovable. Every contract right now that is movable or expiring can present him with at least a couple second round picks. I think that's very, very crucial when you can get collateral to improve your team without having to give up your young talent that you're saying you depend on, that you're
Yep.
saying is a part of your core. That to me is very, 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 very crucial. If you're going to give up your young talent, the one precedence we saw is that he traded him for Sadiq Bey for James Wiseman, somebody from the exact same draft class, with probably presents a little bit more potential to what the Pistons need. And so Troy's he set himself up right. I've seen the Pistons do this in the past where some of these players, they're on for a year or two and it's not a favorable deal. It's not somebody we can really flip. These were guys who we wound up even having to just either let walk or package into other deals that didn't necessarily make the Pistons better. I think about all the players that kind of passed through even during the SVG era. It's like that type of business is just not going down anymore here.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, it's just different. Like, think about it. Who's all movable on the squad? Bagley, Bojan,
Everybody,
Wiseman, Burt,
everybody except your
everybody.
core guys, except
That
your core guys.
so it's like anything you want to complain about. It's like they're just a second round pick away. Like, this thing is kind of where you want it to be. The injury year, in my opinion, kind of slowed things down, but last year turned into get the player development out of Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey. And this is kind of where I wanted to, wrap. It is those two players. They went down, they played summer league. I thought they acquitted themselves well in the two games. First game looked like they were getting their feet wet for Jaden Ivey. Second game, he just kind of looked like what he's going to be. Jaden Ivey to me presents kind of not necessarily the X factor, but this wild card of sorts. We all kind of plug away and we believe Cade's going to be this 25-5 player at minimum. I wanted to kind of get your feel for Jaden Ivey because I think sometimes we forget him when we're talking about what this squad can really be as we move forward. I hear a lot of different players and I hear people talk about the backcourt, but Troy, he stated he really, really believes in their potential. He's not going to go out there and say that they're anything yet. He said he talks to those guys and tell them, y'all got to go out there and prove something, which is awesome to hear that Troy lets us in on, hey, look, I believe in these guys. I think they can get there, but they got to go out there and do it. Man, just talk to me a little bit about Jaden Ivey. We've kind of set some parameters and expectations on Cade. Kind of wanted to get where your brain was at on Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, that's the question mark I have now too, is what's his ceiling? Because that first summer league game that against Orlando, it looked like he was off. Like he was just not. I'm not gonna say he didn't want to be there, but he just wasn't locked in like we're used to seeing. That second game against Houston, somebody said something to him or something. he got the angry face, the mad face about the way that game was going and the way the score was.
Yeah.
And he just decided, you know what, I'm coming down and when his three's on, he's a different player. when he's not turning the ball over, he's a different player. And I think with Cade, he's going to have to handle less, and his situation stuff will be, or his ball handling will be situational. Weak side, he can attack from the other side.
Hmm.
Um, he can figure out how to get through the lane and to do different things. Um, and I think you can, if we saw if what we saw from Duren is what he's going to be, that he can be the man in the corner, then that was sort of, you can play off of that a little bit. And if he's going to have those
Yeah.
handles and be able to attack the rim, Duren can do that. Then that lets you move Ivy anywhere you want to on the court. That means all five of your guys are capable of putting the ball on the floor and penetrating and attacking, which changes the dynamic of what this can be. If you thought that Duren was just more of a roller and a dunker, then if you can move him anywhere on the court, then I think that changes. That changes the dynamic of what the expectations can be. So back to Ivy, I just think when we've seen the sample size with him and Cade together, we've seen what he can do alone. We need to see more of that and what that actually looks like
Yeah.
in a 40 game sample, in a 60 game sample. What does that really look like, and can they maintain that? Um, can he get his 3-point percentage up to 38, 39? That changes everything. I think if you can start doing that, if he's selective in the shots that he's taking and he's making those open ones, I think it just changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's my thinking too. I was sitting here saying, I'm very bullish on Cade. I'm actually really, really bullish on the Cade Ivy backcourt. But I've also on record of saying that I believe Ivy is more less of a Robin and more of a Superman sitting at the Justice League table and not at the Teen Titans table. And I want to see him in this year too, kind of just hit the ground running, kind of less of that first game in summer league and more of that second game in summer league. This is a year where I really believe, man, we can only take so much away from summer league and then even preseason. But this is a year where I'm hoping the Pistons come out like how Coach Tibbs teams come out, bro, in preseason, and they just hit the ground running, absolutely punching everything, including the air. And I want to see Ivy kind of doing that too. One thing that interested me with Ivy in summer league is he averaged 3.5 steals per game, man. His defense to me, he seemed to be in some better positions, and obviously you want to see this thing play itself out in the NBA games. But I believe if
Mhm.
he's somebody who can take his aggression, take his kind of just how his anticipation and such, and bottle that the right way on defense, I think that's what takes him to the next level as well. I want to see him, like you said, be somebody consistently dependable from three, especially when you're playing
Mhm.
off K Cunningham. But
Mhm.
man, if that defense takes a step forward, I think Jaden Ivey is going to see himself get an extra 4 to 6 points a game just off of that type of activity. And I think that type of activity, we saw it work for some other players here. That type of activity makes you a totally different player. And you're right. The Where the Pistons are right now, I think it bodes better for Jaden Ivey, who can
Mhm.
cut, who can get backdoor, with those five creatives all over the court. That's what Troy Weaver actually said he wanted. And it's interesting to hear him throughout the season kind of drop these little dimes, say the types of things that he likes and appreciates. But we're actually seeing the car being built and seeing, oh, he's actually going to the shop and getting exactly what he's saying he wants. So it's pretty cool to see that. And I think that it helps. What we saw in Summer League was the Pistons throw more oops, throw more lobs, get more in transition, get more vertical. And that to me bodes very, very well for Jaden Ivey. I want to see them keep him in motion, kind of like a modern day, more athletic Richard Hamilton. Keep him in motion, especially as he continues to improve that mid range. I think getting him downhill, players like him, players like Asar Thompson, even players like Jalen Duren. The reason why you want to get those guys downhill is because they also make the right decisions. We
Mhm.
haven't I haven't seen these guys make like I've seen them make mistakes, and the decisions that we would classify as probably bad decisions, because I don't want to say I haven't seen them make bad decisions, but I like their basketball IQ. I like the things that they try to do. Like I see Ivy try to make the right pass, and sometimes there's just too much zing or too much sauce on it. So we penalize them, say, "Hey, bro, get that under control." But I see the vision, I see the IQ, and that's what I like, man. I really believe that the way this squad is being put together, and I'm amped to kind of see some of the other lineups outside of the starters because the
Ooh,
bench is
and
saucy.
I was just about to say that. And this, let me drop this last dime
Yeah.
before we break out. Picture this lineup defensively:
Ooh.
Cade, Ivy, Asar, Livers, Duren. Defensively, man,
I like that one. I
they're
like that
just
one. Versatile.
you
Ooh, I
got
love
you got a couple of 3-point shooters, but when those dudes get out in transition,
honestly, with that lineup, I love Cade. I love Cade with the rock in his hands. But part of me wants to see what point Thompson would look like in that lineup.
and that's the point, is that they're so versatile that you could have Ivy with the rock in his hands,
Oh,
and just you can put those dudes on the wings. I mean, that's it. I'll just
yeah.
drop these little nuggets. I'll drop nuggets for you, but
I like that,
that,
man. The all
that,
defensive team, man. I like it.
that's a
And
defensive lineup that I want to see what they're capable of doing.
yeah, that's the one there for me. I was honestly kind of going back and forth over different lineups and such. And the Isaiah Livers one, I was doing it and including Stu, but Isaiah Livers, in terms of what he can provide, in terms of offensive versatility, that one is a very, very interesting one to me, man. But this was a good conversation. I think we
Yeah,
covered a lot, a whole lot. One thing I will leave people with is the expectations of it all. You know, a lot of people kind of hear us talk, and I think that they hear the hopefulness. And I think sometimes that's the reporting. You know, when I hear Troy Weaver saying something and it's okay, this is what he's saying, this is what he's going to do. They're still building it. He said we're kind of just now setting the foundation and getting to the windows, putting the windows in stage is what I think he said. It's like, okay, prior, yeah, we kind of look at things, we like what they're kind of doing, we're kind of assessing. They had some injury setbacks, but this is a season for me where expectations are kind of they're a little bit raised. You know, how this team meets them or not is something that I personally will be a little bit more critical on, just because even Troy is saying we're at that stage now where we're trying to win, where we need to have some results and whatnot. And I do want to
right.
make sure that distinction is on. You know, it's not about drinking a Kool-Aid, but it's about trying to see what they're trying to do. And honestly, as I'm looking at some of these players, I like them. But hopefully this team is one that is going to cash in on the belief that Troy Weaver also has in them. So, yeah, my expectation is that this team go out there and win at least 30 games. Go out there
Yeah,
and look like a scrappy defensive team that takes no plays off. I think you have the makeup now. I think Monty Morris, Sasser, Asar Thompson from just a no plays off defensively. I don't know, man. I think they have the recipe to go out there and win some games next year.
yep, absolutely. I
So
agree.
all right, man. Look, I got my Tiger shirt on for today, man. This squad, I don't get them, man. They just it's like be buyers, be sellers, go away, or punctuate something.
We just have to be interested and make y'all watch every day. That's all. That's the plan here. That's the master plan. Just make y'all watch every day.
Oh man. Well, you know what? Let me get this thing drum rolled out of here. I appreciate you all being here. And to the people that are here to this point, let me know what defensive squad or defensive lineup you are looking forward to next season for this Detroit Pistons squad. Obviously, guys, like I said, go check out the Morning Woodward Show. Jeff Freddy, Sam, Flannel Sam, JB, Lucas, and Gabby. They're doing some good work there. But let me get the legend drum rolled out of here, you all. Hey, yo! Shout out and thank you to the legend Detroit News Rod Beard. He's just the international man of hoops. He's just everywhere. So thank you as always, brother, for joining the show. And I look forward to what we have kind of in the works.
All right, bro. We'll talk next week.
Hey, as always, thank you,
All
brother.
right. Peace.